a wife for his son Yitzchak, and he was given certain signs, and he told Hashem he wants to create certain signs that this will make him realize that she's the right girl. And then he, after everything's said and done, he chose Rivka. Rivka came back with him. And now this is describing what happened when he finally came back to Yitzchak. So it says, after Yitzchak heard from Eliezer all the miracles that happened and how ultimately he chose the right person, it says he took her to the tent of Sarah Imai, his tent of Sarah, his mother. By that point, Sarah was not alive. And he took Rivka, and she became his wife. And he loved her. And Yitzchak was comforted for the loss of his mother. So the words of the pasuk is that he brought her to the tent of Sarah, his mother. And that's what Rashi is referring to. So the heading in the Rashi has three words: ha'ohala, the tent; Sarah imay, Sarah his mother. So Rashi says, what does it mean? By ha'ohala, he brought her to the tent. The nasa, she became dugma Sarah imay, similar to Sarah his mother. How did she become similar to Sarah's mother? Klaimer, v'harehi Sarah imay. That's how we have to read it. Ha'ohala, he brought her to the tent, and behold, here he saw Sarah his mother. As long as Sarah was alive, there were three miracles that occurred in her tent. She lit a candle Friday afternoon, and the flame remained all week until the next Shabbos. Second miracle was bracha metzuya be'isa. There was a very big blessing in the dough, which she baked, which means it produced much more than what she put in. And the third miracle was anan kosher al ha'oil. There was a cloud that was attached to the tent. It was hovering over the tent. But Mishamesa, once Sarah passed away, Pasku, then there was no candle burning from Friday to Friday. There was no special blessing in the dough. And there was also no longer the cloud that was hovering over her tent. Shabbos Rivka, when Rivka came, all three things came back. So Yitzchak saw that Rivka is really the true sort of follow-up to Sarah, like his mother Sarah. So let's look at the Rebbe. How did you work it? She read it, you read it, she read it in Hebrew, she read it in English.
She read it and translated it.
She read it and translated? Okay. So I think it'll be easier if I'll read it, but I'm not going to read the Hebrew and translate it. I'll read it in English, but I'm going to read from the text. So I'm going to follow the text, and you could follow how I'm reading it, but I'm going to read it lechatchila, translated in English as I read.
Wait, sorry. What's the pasuk that Rashi's using?
The pasuk is pasuk chapter 24, pasuk 67. Starts over again. Rashi brings down the words of Sarah Imay. You see the heading, these words which are in bold, that's the heading. The Rebbe bases a lot of sichas on the heading, because the fact that Rashi makes reference to those words, which means that's what he's coming to explain. And I guess you know already by now, I'm imagining, that Rashi is very unique and different than almost any other commentary, in the sense that all other Mefarshim ask a question and give an answer. Rashi hardly ever asks a question. He just brings down the words, gives an explanation. But if Rashi has something to say, that means there is a question. But instead of asking a question, giving an answer, Rashi says, this is what it means. And once you read the Rashi, the question should be gone. So the Rebbe is going to explain what was Rashi's question there. But first, Rashi brings these words, three words: the tent, Sarah, his mother. And Rashi says, it means that she became like Sarah, his mother. Okay, and then the Rebbe here quotes what we just read. Second paragraph. Mefarshim, Masbirim, they explain that Rashi is basing his commentary on the word ha'ayala, the tent. Because the word the tent is written before the word Sarah, his mother. If the pasuk's intention was to say, the way it appears on the surface, he brought her to the tent, which was his mother's tent. It should have said, ha'ayala Sarah imay. He brought her to the tent of Sarah, his mother. Or li'ayhal Sarah imay, or to the tent of Sarah, his mother. But how does it make sense to say he brought her ha'ayala to the tent, and then it should say Sarah, his mother? It doesn't read smoothly. So therefore Rashi says this must be teaching us something, and that means that we already know something about this tent. So Rashi says it's a separate thing. Number one, he brought it to the tent. Number two, another thing the Torah tells us, Sarah Imer, that he saw in her his mother Sarah because of the miracle that happened. So the Rebbe is now explaining why this way of explaining Rashi is not sufficient. According to this, the Rebbe asks a few questions. Aleph, Beis, Gimel, and that's it. Aleph.
Wait, so you're saying that normally Rashi wouldn't ask the question, and now this time he is?
No, Rashi doesn't ask any question. Rashi just gives a commentary, just a pirush. But when Rashi says something, it's because there is a question here. So Mefarshim are always investigating what was the question that Rashi is coming to explain, to answer. So they say because the words in the pasuk don't read smoothly. It says, and he brought her to the tent. Sarah, his mother. It doesn't connect. Either it should say he brought it to the tent of Sarah, his mother, or some other way, but not the tent, Sarah, his mother. So therefore Rashi says it's teaching us two things. Number one, he brought it to the tent. Sarah, his mother, means once he brought her to the tent, he saw that she's like his mother, Sarah. Question number one, why does then Rashi make reference to the word Imay, his mother? If the whole point in Rashi is that the words Ha'ayala Sarah, the tent Sarah, has nothing to do with the word Imay. The main question is, why does it say the tent Sarah? It should say to the tent of Sarah. So Rashi should have only made reference to the first two words, not the third word. So obviously there's something about the word Imay, the mother, that's also questionable there. Number two, Rashi says, so Rashi's answer is that the intention of the pasuk is about the miracles, that in Sarah's tent he saw miracles. Why can't we just say he brought her to the tent of Sarah and he saw that she acts like his mother Sarah, that she's a righteous woman like his mother Sarah? Where's there any implication here that there were miracles? Third question is, let's put aside and assume there is some sort of a basis that we have to say there were miracles. But what's the basis for Rashi to say, according to the Pshat, that it were these miracles? And there was more than one miracle, there were three miracles. We know that Rashi's commentary is all based on Pshat, right? So it means there must be something in the pasuk, the way we see it, simply, that implies that there was a miracle here. Why do we have to say there was a miracle? And if yes, why does it have to be three miracles? Where's the basis for that? In fact, the Rebbe says, look in Targum Yonis ben Azil. That's one of the commentaries on the Chumash. Let's turn the page. That he only brings one miracle, that the candle was burning from Shabbos to Shabbos. In fact, he's known that he's also a commentary that's connected to Pshat, but not so much like Rashi. Rashi is more Pshat. So according to simple Pshat, what's the proof that there has to be more than one miracle there? Why can't we say he saw it's like his mother, there was something miraculous happen? In other words, even if we were to find the reason why we must say there was a miracle here, where do we come to say there were three miracles? The second part of the Sicha, page 177. You're talking about Yolayma, we could perhaps say that Rashi is not saying that this is the way it must be according to Pshat, but this is what it says in the Medrash. And because the Medrash says it, that's why Rashi says it. In fact, at the end of Rashi's words, it says the Medrash Rabbah. And the Rebbe adds in the parentheses, sometimes when it says a reference, it's not Rashi's words. The printers, when they printed the Chumash, to make it easier, added a reference. But here, it looks like this is Rashi's words. So maybe Rashi is just saying that's what it says in the Medrash. The Rebbe says, based on this, that Rashi's words are really not simple pshat, but it's just the Medrash. So then, if Rashi is based on the Medrash says a fourth thing, and Rashi leaves that out. What's the fourth thing? The loses psuches l'revacha. That Sarah's tent had the doors open wide, like we know the chuppah represents that tent that everybody's welcome to come, have a meal, and they're welcome. And that also happened to her. So if he's going with the Medrash, why doesn't he mention the fourth miracle? Also, if Rashi is based on the Medrash, the order in Rashi is not the same order as in the Medrash. In the Medrash, it says first that the cloud was hovering over the tent. Then it says that there was a bracha in the dough. And then it says that the candle was burning from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos. In Rashi, first Rashi says the candle was burning. Then Rashi says about the dough. And the last thing is about the tent.
And what was the order of the Torah?
In the Medrash, the order is first the cloud hovering over the tent. The second thing is that the dough had a special bracha. And the third thing is that the candle was burning from Shabbos to Shabbos. We'll see this later in the Sicha. I'm just afraid if I don't get to the end of the Sicha, I think the clock is moving faster than me. Is that it's known that these three things are the three mitzvahs that women represent mainly. As we know, the word nida stands for three things. Nun is neshek. That's that's Shabbos candles. Wait a second. Shin. No. So what am I saying? The word chana. Chana it represents three things. Ches is challah. That's the food. The woman's responsibility is the kashrus in the home. The nun is nida, which is family purity, and the hey in Chana is hadlakas aneres, lighting of candles. Ches, nun, hey. So these are the three mitzvahs. The cloud hovering over the tent, which the clouds represent the Shechina purity. That's the family purity. The fact that the dough had the bracha in it, that's kashrus of food. And the fact that the candle burned from Shabbos to Shabbos, that's Shabbos candles. Anyway, so whatever goes into it now, another question. Generally speaking, Rashi does not give a reference to where he takes his pirush from. Why? Because Rashi's thing is not based on, it says in Gemara such and such, that's why I'm saying this. Rashi's pirush is based on pshat, which means if you look at this pasuk, and you look at it in a simple way, and the Rebbe often says like a 5-year-old, because a 5-year-old is already learning Chumash, these are the questions that come to mind, and these are the way you would understand the answer. The Rebbe is saying if these three details are things that have to be understood according to Pshat, then why does Rashi make the reference to the Medrash? And if you don't need the Medrash, and if it is something which is not Medrash, if it's something which is not Pshat, then Rashi should have said that in the beginning. Usually Rashi says, Rabbi Seinu Darshu, our rabbis taught in the Medrash. In other words, if this is Pshat, you don't have to give that introduction. If it's not Pshat, then you do. So if it's not Pshat, why doesn't he give the introduction? If it is Pshat, why does he even say it at the end that it comes from a Medrash? There are times that I would stop in the middle of a Sicha and smile and say, "No, how many questions already?" And he wanted someone to count the numbers. Sometimes there were 8, 9, 10, one after the other. Gimel. Now Rabbi saying we're going to the answer. Rashi is here to answer a question which is in Pshat. And the question is about all three words, Ha'ayala, Sarah, and Imay. And that's why in the heading, in the caption, he writes all three, because that's where the question comes from. Why? The Torah is here to tell us that when Rivka came with Eliezer, and Eliezer told Yitzchak all the miracles that happened, which means we see that Hashem was guiding this. Yitzchak took Rivka to the tent, and he took her as a wife. So the Torah should have said, and Yitzchak brought her in, and she became his wife. Why does the Torah add the words Ha'ela, Sarah, and Imay? These three words seem to be unnecessary. He just should say he brought her to himself as a wife. Why do we have to say that he brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother? Why is that point necessary?
The Rebbe saying?
Right, Rabbi, that's not a question. So the three words, Ha'ayala, the tent, and Sarah, and Imay, all three words seem to be unnecessary. So therefore, we must say that it adds something into the story that makes the story more understood. And that is that first he saw Rivka, he heard the report from Eliezer, but only once he brought her into the tent, that's when it was confirmed in his mind with absolute certainty that she's meant to be his wife. In other words, Toimar, in spite of the fact that Eliezer told Yitzchak all the miracles that happened on the way, and how all the simanim, all the signs that he gave, Hashem followed what he did and showed him that she's the right person. And this was how Eliezer had this to him was this proof that she's the right person for Yitzchak. And that she has the mindless, not just the right person because there was some sign. She showed kindness. And she gave drinks to the people, they gave drinks to the camels. So she showed that she had the character traits that are suitable for someone like Yitzchak. And nevertheless, Yitzchak was still not 100% certain that she's the one that fits his family, and that she's the one that sort of is close to the level of his mother, who was a tzaddikus. So, therefore, the pasuk adds that he brought her into the tent, and apparently that confirmed it. That made it certain. But we must say that he saw something unusual, and that is what made him feel with absolute certainty that she's the one. He must have seen something miraculous, something out of the ordinary, because everything else he already heard from Eliezer. And these out of the ordinary miracles are hinted in the Torah, are alluded to by the three words, Ha'ayala, Sarah, and Imay. Which means Yitzchak saw a nes, a miracle that's connected to the tent. He saw a miracle that's connected to Sarah, and he saw a miracle that's connected to his mother. Now the Rebbe is explaining how the three words, the tent, Sarah, and mother, all represent these three miracles. The word the tent alludes to the fact that this is, when it says the tent with a hay, it means that it's something known, something special about the tent. In Hebrew, it's called hey hayediyah. I don't know what that would be in English grammar. When there's something, we use a word, you say the, meaning to say this is something which is well known. And what is it? We found before when Abraham was going to the Akedah in last week's Parsha, it also said that he saw the place from the distance. How did he know this was the place? If you remember, Rashi said he saw a cloud hovering over the spot. The cloud always represents the Shekhinah. We know that when the Jews were traveling in the desert, how did they know where the Shekhinah was present? When they saw the clouds. How did they know it's time to move? When the clouds lifted and started to move, they knew that we have to move. So the Shekhinah is represented by a cloud. And on the mountain, he saw a cloud. So therefore, just like over there, when it says he saw the place with a big hay in the front, meaning this is the place that stands out. What was it? A cloud hovering over the place. So here when it says Ha'ayala, it also means that this tent is distinguished from all other tents. In what way? That there was a cloud hovering over the tent. which shows the presence of the Shekhinah, presence of holiness. What about Sarah? The word Sarah, also, the Rebbe said, let's go back to the story of the Malachim, the angels who came to Avram as guests. What does the Torah say? That Avram ran to the tent of Sarah and he said, quick, bake this and these cookies and this cake. Which means even though Avram Avinu was so involved in Achnas Sarchim, and he ran himself, and he brought the bakar, meaning the ox, and he's the one who did everything that needs to prepare the food for them. But who is going to be the one that's going to knead the dough? That's Sarah, and that's why he ran to her tent, that she should knead the dough and bake cakes and cookies for the guests. In other words, the Torah already informed us that this was Sarah's special function of baking in the house. And therefore, if we say there was a miracle that's connected specifically with Sarah, it has to do with the baking. That is a bracha in the Isa, in the dough. What about Imai? The Rebbe says even a 5-year-old that's learning Chumash, he knows that who was the one that lights candles? That's the mother. That's her thing. That's what stands out. So when he learns that it was a Ness, and that the Ness is connected to Sarah's mother as a mother from that perspective, so he connects that immediately with Neir Shabbos Kodesh. Even though the Rebbe says even little girls also light candles, but not always is that the situation. Some homes there are only boys. There aren't any little girls. We have a family where there are only boys. And this boy who's a 5-year-old only has siblings that are boys. So therefore, the one who he always identifies with candle lighting is his mother. Now the Rebbe asks, so why doesn't Rashi bring the 4th miracle? That the doors were wide open. So the answer is because in the pasuk there's only an indication of 3 miracles: Oyala, Sarah, Imai. So therefore, there's nothing that's indicating there was a 4th miracle. But it's still another question: how do we know that the candles were so miraculous that they burned from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos? Even if we were to say there was a miracle that she lit the candles Friday and they remained lit throughout the whole Shabbos, wouldn't that be also an incredible miracle? Where do we get to say that according to Pshat, there was a miracle that went from Shabbos to Shabbos? So therefore, the Rashi adds the words Breishis Rabbah, which means, according to the Pshat, we know that it was a miracle, and the miracle is related to the candles. But the basis to say that the miracle was not just that it was burning longer than the norm, but it burned all week. That we know, that's where Rashi makes reference. That's in the Medrash. That's from the source. Following me so far? Yeah. Now the Rebbe goes into the order. Remember we said if you're already bringing the Medrash, in the Medrash the order is different than the Rashi. Why does Rashi do this order? According to what we just explained, we still don't understand the order. The order is there was a candle burning from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos. There was a bracha in the dough, and there was a cloud hovering over the tent. But that's not the Seder in the Medrash. But it's also not the Seder in the Pasuk. In the Pasuk, the first thing is Oyhala, that's the cloud. The tent is the cloud. The second word is Sarah, that's about the bracha and the dough. And the third thing is the candle, and Rashi puts the candle as the first. So it's not consistent with the order in the Medrash, it's not consistent with the order in the Pasuk. I'm going to skip the bracket. So Rashi really should have brought it in the order of the pasuk, which is first the cloud hovering over the tent, because that's the first thing. Where Oyala. The second miracle would be when she came into the tent that she baked, and there was a bracha in the isa in the dough, and then at the end there was a candle burning from Shabbos to Shabbos, because that's the last thing she did before Shabbos started. She lit candles. The answer is like this. Answer, when we say that he brought her into the tent and he saw that she's like his mother's son, it doesn't mean he saw that she looks like his mother, she gets dressed like her mother, she has the same style, hair like his mother. It means she's a righteous woman like his mother. It was about righteousness. That's what impressed him, that she's a tzaddikus. So therefore, let's turn the page. If you go by that, then we can understand the order. The first thing is the candle was burning from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos, which means we're talking about a mitzvah that she performed. And we see that the mitzvah that she performed was like the mitzvah that her mother performed, his mother performed, like a tzaddikus that had tremendous a miracle happened that it burned for a whole week. The second thing is not about a mitzvah. Remember, we're looking for something which shows her righteousness. So this is directly connected to a mitzvah that she observed. What? I'm now on page 181, on the top of 181. The second thing we bring is other activities that are not mitzvahs, like the bracha in the dough. That's about her activity in general that she baked, and in her baking there was an unusual bracha. At the end, it's talking about something which is not even her activity, something outside of what she does, and that is that there's a tent hovering, there's a shechina, a cloud hovering over the tent. In other words, everything has its advantages, but on the simple level of pshat, he was impressed by her righteousness. The cloud hovering over the tent was not her action. The dough was her action, and the lighting of the candles were her action. So the first thing is the lighting of the candles, because that's her actions as mitzvahs in righteousness. And the second one is not a mitzvah, even though it also shows that she's righteous. And the third one is not her action altogether. It's something else that's done by Hashem, not by her. Now we know the Rebbe always says, and every Sicha usually concludes that it's brought down that there's hidden secrets of Kabbalah in Rashi, hidden secrets of Torah. And in fact, it's called Yena Shel Torah. Did you have this before? The wine of Torah? They're bringing from different sources. The wine of Torah is in Rashi. So one of the amazing, fascinating things in this Rashi is like this. Rivka lit the candles before she got married. Because it says he took her, and only after he saw these three things, that's when he can sort of confirm the marriage and he took her as a wife. That means that she lit the candles as a regular activity. It was even before she was married to Yitzchak. Not only that, according to Rashi, how old was Rivka when she lit the candles? She was 3 years old, which means it's an age you're not even obligated to do mitzvahs. But nevertheless, she lit Shabbos candles. And that was his siman, that was his sign that she is like his mother, Rivka. In fact, that's the first of the three signs. So the Rebbe says, Avram Avinu, he observed the whole entire Torah, which means he observed the mitzvahs that are in the Torah. He also observed the mitzvahs that were midrabbanan, that the rabbis instituted. And the din is, if the woman is not lighting candles for whatever reason, she's not home, she's away, and she can't light the candles, or chas v'sholom, in the case of Abraham, where his wife passed away, then the man should light the candles. So we have to assume that after Sarah passed away, Abraham Avinu lit the candles. So even without her lighting candles, there would have been candles lit there. And nevertheless, she didn't satisfy herself with the fact that Abraham was lighting candles, but she, as a young girl of 3 years old, made a point that she should light candles herself. So we see here a clear hira. Like I told you, this was the time when the Rebbe was storming the world with mitzvah neshek, that not only are girls obligated to light candles before they're married, but even little children from the age of 3, if only they understand. The Rebbe did make this stipulation that it should be an age where they understand what they're doing, that what Shabbos is. It's a holy day, it's a special day. Then they should be doing this mitzvah. Even though Rivka was definitely different than an average 3-year-old, we see that she was like an adult. In fact, We learn certain halachas from what happened. Like it says here, we learned the halacha. They called her to say, what do you want? Do you want to go with this man or not? Is that a question you ask a 3-year-old? So obviously she was a mature 3-year-old on a much different level. But nevertheless, she was only 3 years old. And according to halacha, a 3-year-old has different kind of, has no obligations. So we learn from this how important it is for a 3-year-old to light the candles. By the way, after the Rebbe came out of the Mitzvah Neshek, the Rebbe gives out Kirshel Bracha, the wine, after Farbrengen. So that Farbrengen, we forgot whichever one it was that followed, when the Rebbe gave out wine, he also gave out a box of matches to every little girl. Any girl under Bas Mitzvah got a box of matches. Because Lazarov has a box of matches. So this is way back. I think she's my only daughter that got it. Now the Rebbe says even something more amazing that we learn from here. What's more amazing? We said before that Avraham Avinu surely lit the candles every Erev Shabbos. So even though the Torah testifies that Avraham Avinu was at an older age and Hashem blessed him with everything, and he was a great tzaddik, certainly we mean that he was blessed with everything spiritually. Nevertheless, when he lit candles, it wasn't lit from Shabbos to Shabbos. Because that's what it says in Rashi, that when Sarah passed away, it was gone. Only now, when Rivka came, it came back. That means that before, when Avraham Avinu lit the candles, it did not have that miracle that the candles remained lit from Shabbos to Shabbos. So we see here, there's a tremendous power that's found in the lighting candles of a little girl, even a little girl, 3 years old. She is Bas Sarah Rivka Rochel B'Leah, and her candle lighting lights up the home for the entire week. The only difference is that when Sarah and Rivka lit the candles, the light was revealed. The Gashmis, you can actually see how it's lit up. Ordinary women light it, you don't see it with your physical eyes, but spiritually, the light that's brought into the home through lighting Shabbos candles lasts for the whole week. Okay, let's go to page 184 on top of the page, on the second column. When it comes to learning Torah, our sages say that when little children learn Torah, children means anyone under bar mitzvah, it's hevel tenegah shel beis rabbah. It's breath of innocent children who have no sin. They never committed sin because they're too young. So it's understood the same applies to lighting candles. That anything that's done by a little girl that she has no sin yet because she's so young, certainly what she does has a tremendous advantage even over an adult. But the Rebbe says it's still a question. This advantage should be realized by all mitzvahs. But how come we don't find this explained in the Sfarad? So the Rebbe goes, what's really the reason why we see such a unbelievable thing that when a woman lights, even a little girl lights, the light remains openly, visually, all week long. Someone like Avraham Avinu lights, it doesn't happen that way. In other words, Avraham Avinu was such a tzaddik. We're talking about when Yitzhak was getting married. So this was after Avraham Avinu reached his highest levels. And still, when he lighted the candle, it doesn't remain all week. And little Rivka was 3 years old, and she lights it, and she merits this kind of miracle. What is it? According to Chazal, a man and a woman have different functions and different shlichus and different missions in this world. And the Gemara uses this analogy. It's not an analogy, it's how it applies to one area, but it really represents the general difference. The man brings the chitim. A man is his function was to go out into the field, work in the field, do all the hard work, and bring home wheat. He brings the wheat into the house. And what's the function of the woman? The wheat that he brings is not edible. The woman's function is to process this wheat and make it edible, that you can eat it. So he brings home the raw material, and she's the one that processes it, makes it that we can actually eat the food. So he says, generally speaking, the avoid of a man versus the avoid of a woman, says in Gemara, ish darke lichbesh. A man, his avoid is to go out and conquer, which means he has to go out into the world and bring things from the outside world, conquer it, meaning to conquer it and make it kedusha, and bring it inside, into the realm of kedusha. A woman, kol kvuda bas melech penima, so her main avoid is not to go outside and conquer. Her avoid is that what the husband brings into the house, she should transform it and make it something which is the begashmias. She should process it. She should make it come to fruition. In fact, there's another example that's given. The Gemara tells a story. Who was it? Could be Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. That there was no rain, so they came to him to pray for rain. So he stood in one corner to pray. His wife stood in the other corner to pray. And as soon as he started praying, clouds appeared. But where did they appear first? On her corner, not on his corner. So the Gemara says, how come she merited that her prayers are answered first? And the Gemara says, because he would give tzedakah, he would give money. If someone would come to him when he's out in the field working and say, I need tzedakah, what would he give him? Money. When someone came to her for tzedakah, where was she? In the house. What would she give? She would give bread, cheese, milk, eggs. She would give food. In other words, what he gave was the raw material that you take this money to the marketplace, you can buy it, and you can transform this into food. What she gave was directly food. So it's not just about tzedakah, it means the general idea of the roles of men and women is that the man's role is more going on the outside and conquering things and bringing it inside. And the woman's role is to transform it into something that's actual and bring it down to concrete, to the level where it's concrete and physical. Even in the process of childbirth, where is this baby developed in all its 613 organs and every single detail of the body? That's the function of the woman, not the function of the man. So the woman has that power that Hashem gave her, that she has the ability to take raw material and transform it and to develop it into something practical. This is the shlichus of a woman. And therefore, what the Rebbe is saying is that a man, Avraham Avinu, brought light into the house. And there's no doubt that the light he brought in was lasting all week long. But he didn't have the power that that light should turn into Gashmisdika light, that you can actually see it with your eyes. Rivka, even though she was only 3 years old, but she was a woman. And a woman is blessed with that power that she can turn spirituality into physical. And therefore, her lighting candles led to being a house that's lit up physically. You can actually see the light. And the other Rebbe concludes what I said before. Now we can appreciate more that order that we gave before. The Farshim say that the 3 things that Rashi says correspond to the 3 mitzvahs which are specifically connected to women. So that's Chala, that's the Ches of Chana, Nida, Taras Mishpacha, and Hadlakas Haner, lighting candles. So the mitzvah of lighting the candles, that brings that things are, the house is lit up all week. Being careful, the mitzvah of Chala, that brings the bracha in the dough. And being careful with the mitzvah of Taras Mishpacha, that brings a cloud, should be hovering over the tent, meaning the cloud is the Shekhinah. Tara is purification. So Rashi lists these 3 things, not according to chronological order of the time that a person does mitzvahs. The first mitzvah a girl does is light Shabbos candle when she's 3 years old. When she gets a little bit older, she gets involved in cooking and baking. That's the challah. When she gets older and she gets married, then Taras Mishpacha applies to her. And therefore, Rashi says it in that order. Then a big, bold letter, the Rebbe concludes, this is understood, the tremendous chus, to make an effort that every little girl and every woman should educate their children to light Shabbos candles, Erev Shabbos, Erev Yontif, And through lighting the candles, we'll be zeicha. It says in the Yalkut Shemini, it became a famous song. It's not a Lubavitcher song, but it's based on this medrash that Hashem says, if you will light the candles of Shabbos, I will light the candles of Tzion. Neir Tzion, that we'll see Hashem light up in Karav Mamish and Gula Mitzvah Shlema in Yerushalayim.
If you like the time of Shabbat, I'll like what?
Imatem Shomrim, you ever heard that song? Imatem Shomrim, Nerot Shabbat. Ani Marelachem, Nerot Shel Tzion. Which means if you will light the candles of Shabbos, I will show you the candles of Tzion. Which means through lighting the candles of Shabbos will merit to have and see Yerushalayim lit up with Hashem's presence. There's the Madruchot, they'll teach it to you. Any questions? Obviously not. Okay, we'll give them
Actually, I do have a
a
question.
break. Yeah.
Before the Sicha, the Rabbi gave the Sicha,
Yeah.
like, even in Lubavitch, was it not common that girls live at age 3?
It wasn't coming. No. Like I
Okay.
said, there was some. My wife said in her family they actually did it
Mhm.
even before the age. Yeah. Yes.
Would you like explaining things like, again, the thing about like the order of like the woman starts at age?
No, they're saying now once we understand that these three things correspond to the three mitzvahs, we can understand the order in Rashi is chronological. The first thing is lighting candles. Because chronologically speaking, that comes first. When a girl is 3 years old, she's already lighting candles. The next thing that happens, even before she's married, she's already helping around the house and she's baking and cooking. And the third thing, which is Taras Mishpacha, that's when she gets married with the husband and she observes Taras Mishpacha. So that's why Rashi gives it this order, to allude to the chronological order, but it's still alluding that these three miracles are connected to these three mitzvahs.
Okay.
You know that just like Chana stands for these three mitzvahs, there's also another combination of these three letters, and that is Hachein. Hachein means grace. Hana.
Yeah.
If you rearrange the three letters, it could also stand for Hachein. The grace of a woman, the chen a woman has when she observes these three mitzvahs. Okay, you're very welcome. What?
Can you teach us every time? Rashi?
Yeah, Mrs. Deitch, hopefully she'll come back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta be for everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
That yours, boss? Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. That's mine.
I was like, this boss, yeah, something that colorful.
I have something colorful. You want to go on? I'll give it to you.
But to be honest, I have green look at.
Oh,
Boss, yeah.
Yeah.
I have one, like, big backpack brown. Yeah. I wish I could be branching out.
No, to be honest, every time when I use this backpack, I'm so embarrassed. Should I be embarrassed?
What color green?
Like sage green. Oh, sage. I thought you were gonna be like neon green.
No, absolutely not. Bossy would never own something neon green.
No, I took this backpack. You need to sit down. And this backpack